Okay, folks, we're live. We're waiting for some folks to tune in. Hopefully you can see us. We'll get started here in about 1 minute. Again, we're going to get started here in about 1 minute. We're just waiting for folks to log in. Okay, we're still waiting. We're just at 10 o'clock, and we'll give ourselves 30 more seconds for folks to join us and be able to log in live. Okay, so today we're going to talk about information that we want our junior parents to know. This is information that's going to be different from what even our current seniors have kind of before them, and it's information that's been changing so much that we felt that we wanted to do this to get junior parents to know now what's going on, because these changes are pretty different from again what our current seniors are experiencing. So it's important. We felt like we needed to get it out there now, and this was one of the ways to do it. So for logistics for today, if you're watching on YouTube and you have a question, you can email Miss Alder at susie.alder@lcps.org. So as we're going through today, if you have questions, you can email her. If you're on Google Hangouts, you should be able to use the group chat or even maybe the question and answer app to send us questions. But we're hoping that our questions will be able to answer, and we will be posting the PowerPoint that we're using today on our website, and this will be recorded on Google. We're also doing this again during 2 o'clock hour. 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock were the hours that the best for them, the little survey that we sent out last week. All right. So today we hope that you'll learn information about kind of who's going to help your child, the counselors, and the information we want to talk about are the changes in the SAT, the Common Application, the Coalition for Access, Affordability, and Success, and the FAFSA, which is the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And we'll go over those again here in a minute. So we also hope that you'll learn about using Naviance and the steps that you can prepare for college admissions. This is how we've broken down the alphabet for our counselors. We made some changes when Ms. Bush, her family was reassigned to go to Amsterdam. So after that, we hired Ms. Famalant to join us, and we redistributed the students across all the counselors. So Ms. Qatar has 9th through 11th graders, A through EN. Ms. Bryant has 9 through 11, PP through Z. Ms. Famalant has 9th graders, ED through, hold on, I can't even see it myself. EO through KRI, and Ms. Connell has KRJ through PO. Believe it or not, our alphabet splits that way, even with KRI and KRJ. So these are the folks that will be working with your students. I help them and the students throughout the process, but we wanted you to know who these folks were because we did change the alphabet just about a month and a half ago. So one of the big changes that's coming very soon is the new SAT. And For juniors, it kind of puts them in a bad spot because they've been practicing, for the current SAT. And the last day to take the current SAT is January 23rd. The registration deadline for that is December 28th. The reason this is important is we started asking, and Ms. Alder did a great job of asking each of the schools in Virginia, will they accept the old SAT, the new SAT? Will they do something called super score? And the super score is when they take the highest, say, math and the highest verbal from all the sittings that a student takes of the SAT and combines them to give you the highest possible score for your SAT. And we'll put this list up, but what you can see is some schools said, yes, we'll accept the old SAT, but will not super score the old with the new. Some said, yes, they'll accept the old SAT and will super score the old with the new. The new test is obviously different from the old test, and it will make kind of super scoring a little bit more challenging because it has not been normed in the same way that the old test has been normed. And then, of course, we came across one big college in Virginia, Virginia Tech, which said, no, we're only going to take the new SAT scores. So for our students, this is a bit of a challenge because some of our students have already planned in this year, as far as they're concerned about math, they wanted this SAT in January to be their last SAT because they're focusing on, say, getting their math scores up and not so much worried about their English scores. And they were going to focus on English on another SAT. So this kind of is a little bit challenging for our current junior class. And we suggest that as you are planning your list of colleges, please, please, please look and see if they have posted their policies on the new SAT, whether they will super score the new and the old SAT, whether they're only taking the new SAT. This year, when students take that March SAT, there's going to be a delay in scores of up to 10 weeks. So that also is a bit of a challenge as students move forward and they want to kind of see what they got right and wrong and plan for the next SAT. So know that as you take this new SAT, as you prepare. So some of our students have been talking about taking the ACT until some of this kind of moves through with the new SAT. Each year, the SAT and ACT dates stay pretty much to what you see here for, say, ACT. And if you went back and looked at the SAT dates, each of these months is when the test will occur. So some of our students, our juniors especially, are focusing now on just worrying about the ACT this year because most colleges, if not all, but most, do take the SAT or ACT. So the next ACT that's coming up is in February, and I believe that one's being hosted in the county at Dominion, but there's also other places around that students can take it, and the April and the June 11th test. The June test this year might be not a bad option because students aren't facing the same pressures with finals. There'll be different projects due towards the end of school, but there won't be that same pressure that kids would always be focused on. You know, if I got to take the June SAT or ACT, I'm worried about my final exams and taking the SAT or ACT. So that'll be a little bit different. You can go to College Board or ACT to look up all these test dates and get practice for either, you can go get practice on the College Board website, or you can get practice or questions of the day on the ACT website. So now we want to talk a bit about the application process. Currently, the Common App is what about 300 colleges use for their application, and there might be supplemental parts specific to each college, but Common App in general has been used by about 300, 400 colleges that as their application. Some colleges have their own specific application on their websites, but Common App has kind of grown to be that application for most schools. Starting next year, there'll be this coalition of colleges that are starting a process similar to the Common App. And what we wanted folks to know about the coalition is there are about 80 schools right now signed up, and they currently have a list on their website, and we'll put out this address. You all can't see the list right now, sorry about that. But most of the universities in the coalition are some of our more competitive schools, your Browns, your Harvards, your Dukes, William & Mary, UVA. They're within the coalition, so that's a change. A school like UVA that was on Common App will now be on the coalition. You can read more about the coalition and what their goals are. They hope that their process is bringing a better experience for students and parents in the application process. But again, really stress folks need to go and read up on the coalition, know what colleges are there now, know that some colleges are switching from Common App to coalition. If they're not a Common App or coalition application process school, then go to the specific school and look for their application process. The Common App, again, has about 300-400 schools on it. You can go to the Common App website and look up the list of schools, and probably more importantly, make sure that you look up what schools are changing from the Common App. Currently, and we'll talk about Naviance in a little bit, students link their Naviance accounts, our seniors, to Common App, and that allows us to do a lot of the application processing for students and allows students and parents to see how the process is going. We're not sure how that will work with the coalition, but we'll talk a little bit more about Naviance later, but that's how one of the ways we make sure our students link their Common App and their Common App account and their Naviance account to make sure the process goes smoothly. So the FAFSA, this is a big change for folks. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and this application you send to colleges and it determines what your expected family contribution is, which means if a college costs, say, $50,000 a year in tuition and you have a need, they might say you get $25,000 a year in financial aid, and the college is responsible for helping you with that, and then you're responsible for the other $25,000. So pretty much a good idea for everybody to fill out the FAFSA, but it's changing for your graduating class. So currently our seniors would start the FAFSA process January 1st of this year. For your group, you'll be able to start the FAFSA process October 1st. So the biggest thing you can do, and you could probably even do this now, is go to the FAFSA website and start your FAFSA ID. Students and parents need a FAFSA ID, and that process now takes about 3 to 5 days. It used to be one of those process in which it took just a few minutes, but now it's a little bit longer. So please don't wait too long on that. Getting into your senior year, start that as soon as you can. So what's important is the taxes that you're doing this year will be what you use for your information for the years your student will be going, 2017, 2018, to college. So that means this year's information will be what you use to submit October 1st, 2016. So those are some big changes that are out there for students, especially with the FAFSA, the Common App, and the SAT. So we'll stop here real quick. We'll look over questions and try and answer those, and then we'll move on to some other information that is more general to what you need to be thinking about as a junior parent. All right, we're just checking here for questions. Give us a second. We're still checking. Okay, it looks like we're doing okay for questions. Now we're going to move into talking about what colleges are looking for in admissions, what you can prepare. And this is a survey done by the National Association of College Admissions Counselors, or NACAC for short. And this is a survey they gave out to admissions offices throughout the country. And basically this survey shows that what's most important for students to be thinking about are their strength of curriculum and how they do in those courses. So, you know, it's more important to worry about taking courses that are challenging for you and doing well in those courses. And then we get down the road on the survey, you can see with your admission scores, tests, grades in all the courses. You know, class rank is further down than a lot of parents think and worry about. And even GPA isn't as important as your strength of curriculum and how you do in those courses. This is an interesting study that was done by UCLA a little bit earlier in the year. And basically it's showing that our kids are really stressed out about high school and thinking about college in general, to the point where they did a survey and found out that maybe in the days of their parents back in 1987, their parents spent more time with their friends than they have now. You know, 39% in 1987 said that they spent 16 hours a week or more with their friends, and in 2014 that's down to 18%. And again, we'll provide this link. If you read the story, you'll see the video, and they talk a little bit more about the pressures that they feel. And we worry about that as well as parents, and we just want students and parents to know to take classes that you feel challenging, but don't overwhelm yourself. And there's a balance that we all need in this process. Colleges are looking for a well-rounded student, but we don't want them under so much pressure that when they get to college, they're in burnout mode. So in general, colleges are looking to, just like the survey showed you, how you did in the classes that you're in. All grades count from your freshman to your senior year. We hope students put forth their best effort. And in a second here, we're going to show you what's on the transcript. So this is what colleges see when we send information about your student. You can see they see information about any class that you took that was for high school credit. They only see the final grades for each year and the credit awarded. Over here you see something called VC. Those are verified credits in SOL courses. In Virginia, a school may know what that means, a specific Virginia school. Outside of the state, they're not going to be as familiar, but they'll know, kind of what a verified credit is. But it's not something that is so worrisome for colleges in the process. Then down here, you can see class rank and GPA. This is what goes on the transcript. And what's important to know about that is pretty much the senior year is when we officially rank students. So anytime before that, there may be a rank that students ask to see or ask from us. We give that to them, but that rank could change in the next day because it's fluid as students move in and out. And it may not be as accurate as the rank we give them in senior year, where that's something we do pretty consistently. The rank, again, for all years previous to senior year wouldn't be that official, may not be as accurate. The senior year rank is obviously the most accurate and what we call official. That goes on the transcript that we send to colleges. So rigor, colleges look for rigor in what you take and what you do. That can be honors classes, advanced placement or AP classes, or dual enrollment courses, which means the students get credit here at high school and through the college that offers the dual enrollment. And we hear over and over again from colleges, they like to see you go as far as you can in foreign language. And if you can, all 4 years of high school with the foreign language. We talked a little bit about this already, the SAT and ACT scores. We encourage students to take at least one by the end of your junior year, but if you can do more than that, that's helpful. And with the changes to the new SAT, we're seeing that the SAT is more like the SAT, I'm sorry, the SAT is more like the ACT. ACT, is a test that's math, science, English, and say social studies, and then writing is optional, where in the past, folks have thought of the SAT in terms of, verbal and math. But it's really good to go to the website and look at the differences between the SAT and ACT and have your students do the practice. Again, some students don't do so well on the ACT and do great on the SAT, or some students feel like the ACT is how they learn things in high school and do much better than on the SAT. And with colleges taking both, it's important that students try both before their senior year if possible. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about, what tools we have in planning and Naviance, which is what we use and helping our students, and it's called Family Connection that the students and families use. So Naviance is a web-based tool that allows students to do searches. We also do our application process through there, and it includes information about each of the colleges in the United States. So it's a good way to compare colleges. It's a good way to see all the application deadlines. And one of the biggest things we stress with our students, and we hope they'll get better at it and we'll remind them more, is really use Naviance to keep track of what you're doing and how you're doing. Create a resume. When the counselors are doing their letters of recommendation, or even helping to fill out, their part of your student's college application, the resume is a big help. We ask students to do something kind of like a brag sheet. We call it an insight sheet that they give us. And if they give us that along with the resume, as well as them talking with us, we have a good idea of the student's accomplishments and really kind of who the student is and is pushing to become. So it's important that that resume is kind of kept track of somewhere, and Naviance is a good place to keep track of it. Sometimes you get awards in, say, 9th grade or 10th grade that you forget about by the time you're a senior. So it's good to use that each year. Again, Naviance is a tool that's free to the students and their families, and it's just a good place to keep everything. And if you have questions about your account, you can always contact Miss Alder. There's information on the Career Center website about Naviance. And our seniors are well into using it this year, but we need our juniors to get more familiar with it over the next year, and that will help them be ready for their senior year, as well as parents. This is some of the information you can see in a college search. You can compare 2-year, 4-year, or 4-year. Do you have a preference, public versus private? What type of campus do you want? There's specific information about each of the schools. What's really important to take note of is their application deadlines, when their regular admissions deadline, and then when their early deadline is for applications, whether that's early decision or early action deadline. And then just general information about their average SAT, ACT scores, average GPAs. And remember, it's just that, it's an average. Not all schools have the same grading scales throughout the state of Virginia or the country. So these GPA averages you see are just that. However, each school computes GPA, it's whatever that average is. So again, don't use this as one piece of information. Don't, let that deter you, but know that it's their average. So just with the SAT and ACT scores, it's the middle 50 score. And they also put up kind of what they have as their minimum requirements for admission. So you'll see as far as like English courses, fine arts, foreign language, what they require and what they recommend. And then this is just a list, albeit from a long time ago when our school didn't exist, but it's a list of the type of colleges that come through and visit in the Career Center. Ms. Alder has that list up. Mr. Duhlman kind of puts that out in the weekly message out to parents about the colleges that are coming and visiting us here at the Career Center. I can't even tell you the number we've had already this year. And then kind of some important steps that junior parents can take in moving through the process. Obviously register for the SAT or ACT. You can do that now for the end of the year. Research your colleges. And one of the things you can do over winter break or spring break is really visit the schools and then start your list and maintain your resume. Those are really important things. And think about, maybe even set up and plan out how you're going to test and when you're going to take tests so you don't overwhelm yourself with any other tests you may have or AP tests. So plan out how these things are going to happen for you. And then here's where you can register, like we said earlier. And more information, especially our school code, that's important, 470140. And when students take the SAT or ACT, they're given a choice of sending their scores for free to colleges. And sometimes students are hesitant to send their scores because they don't know what their scores are. But this is pretty much the only time it's going to be free. After that, there's a fee associated with sending it. That fee changes every year. But you want to make sure that if you have the opportunity, send them. Again, know the list of what colleges take as super scores, your highest math and verbal for, say, the SAT, or how they would super score an ACT, and send those scores if you feel confident, but know that most colleges are going to take your highest of any pairing up of sittings. So it's pretty much the only time when it's going to be at no cost to you. Later scores are additional fee. If you're not sure kind of what your student wants to do, or they're not sure, there's a good interest inventory that students can take. There's also a place for students to look up information in Naviance about that, and even the majors and offered at colleges. We talk a lot about when you're doing and making your lists and visiting that the most important thing is the fit and feel of a college, that our students should feel comfortable enough that if this becomes their college, they're going to stay. That their relationship isn't based on what their friends, want them to do in picking a college or what they've heard about. It's really what they feel, and that it's a good fit. So possibly, that's when the visits are so important. We have a lot of times kids tell us that they picked a school because they had the best food. So that's an important thing. They're going to be there for 4 or more years, and they need to make sure it feels like home. Again, these are things you can look at when you're researching colleges and looking at what's important. Things they offer. Again, a lot of times it's about feel. Are you comfortable? Could you live there? And more and more kids are telling us that they like schools because of dorms and residence halls, because that's where they're going to be spending not a lot of their time, but that's where they'll be sleeping and hanging out with friends. And then this obviously is what everybody's worried about, which is how to pay for college. And almost every admissions folks that comes through says, don't rule out colleges based on cost. there are things that can come into play, whether it's scholarships or different offers that colleges can make to help with the cost of college. And obviously, we talked earlier about the FAFSA and the importance of filling that out. And in talking to the folks about what financial aid they offer and scholarships is important. We have a financial aid night coming up this Wednesday. It's going to be held with Briarwoods at 7 o'clock. So junior and senior parents, it's probably a good time for them. Junior parents, the information you'll get will be a good start. Obviously, next year, we'll try and do an earlier because the FAFSA is changing with their deadlines. The overall form of the FAFSA probably isn't going to change. So it would be good if you came to the seminar that we're having at Briarwoods, 7 o'clock on Wednesday. That will help. Again, when you develop your list, kind of make some schools that you're sure you can get into, some that you wish you could get into, and some you're right on spot. You're right there with what they offer and what they require. And have this list done by the end of your junior year, over the summer of your junior year, into your senior year, kind of at latest. We had a student accepted this year over the summer, which was pretty amazing. So it's not uncommon when students visit, if they take their information. At some schools, you can even find out if they do that, where they offered admission after a visit. So that's one of the things you can find out. But as you visit, those are things you can think about and talk about. Again, maintain the resume. Make sure when you're doing your resume, you kind of keep it as neat and clean as possible. And don't forget to list activities. Again, like we said earlier, a lot of students forget the early things, that awards and things they got in their, say, 9th and 10th grade year. And we had a goal this year of our students getting applications in, 80% of our students getting applications in by winter break this Friday. Right now, we're at about 74%. We hope to crack 80% by Friday. But it really does help students if you can start over the summer. Most colleges post their new applications July 1st, no later than August 1st. But if you can get that part out of the way, that's good. And colleges love to have the information earlier than later. So whether you decide early action or early decision, even if you just get the application in, the regular application in early, it's helpful for your students and for the colleges. These are in general the application deadlines during the senior year. They don't tend to change too much, but know that you should check each year on the college websites for their early action, early decision, and regular decision deadlines. And kind of what we've heard from other parents is just try and stay as positive as you can during the process. Be encouraging and realistic about the discussions. And kind of have one place you keep all the information, whether that's a binder or a drawer at home. Attend the college fair in September. Make the visits over the summer or during winter and spring break. And also, we encourage students and parents to have an email that when you're sending information to colleges and you're creating your accounts, have one email that mom and dad and student can all access. That's an appropriate email with the student's name or some descriptor so the college knows who they are. Don't have a crazy bestphoenixever@gmail type email address that you send off to colleges. Just make sure it's an appropriate email that everybody has the passwords to. That's probably the quickest way that colleges will contact you regarding information about your application, whether there's things missing, that type of information. So that is our presentation. We'll look for questions. I think we're doing okay with questions. We'll post this webinar on our website. It'll be recorded on YouTube. And let me just double check for any other questions. think we're okay. You can email us feedback about the presentation. We're doing it again at 2 o'clock. 10 and 2 are the most selected times in our survey. We'll probably, as we do these more, offer some other times. We want to find times that are useful for parents and are accessible for most folks. So thank you all. We don't see any other questions.
We have a feedback. This was a good presentation. Technical aspect very good too. Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna log off. We'll be back on at 2 o'clock. It's the same presentation. And thank you all for joining us today. If you have any other questions, you can email Ms. Alder, and we'll also try and post questions and responses to the webinar on our website, which is kind of undergoing some things, some changes right now.
We have one question.
Hold on, we have one question before we stop.
What is your recommendation for junior to take either a new SAT or ACT?
The question was, is it what should a student do? Take the new SAT or the ACT? Again, we'd say, take both, but some of our students are gonna wait and see how this first SAT goes, sign up for the ACTs this year, and then take the later SAT. So they're gonna focus on the ACT this year and then take the later SAT and maybe the first SAT in September of next year. I believe it's, actually, I think it's October. But that's kind of the plan of some of our juniors, is to really focus on the ACT this year, see how the SAT goes, and then start with the SAT, either the last one this year and the first one next year. It's really important that you take both at some point during your junior year so you know which one's better for you, which one you feel like is the better test for you. Okay, wait, we have one more, I think, question. We're doing okay with questions. We forgot there's a bit of delay in what we say and when it gets to you, so we'll give it a few more minutes. Please remember, if you're thinking about SAT or ACT, SAT has partnered with Khan Academy, so you can do work and work through getting help there. Khan Academy will be having their kind of own practice for the SAT there. And for our junior parents, this is kind of just in, but this year's PSAT scores will not be back until January. We just got that email on Friday. It looks like the week of January 6th, students that have an existing College Board account can go log in and see their PSAT scores. If you don't have a College Board account, you can log in and do that. The paper copies, they don't anticipate being back to the schools until the last week of January. So that is much later than in the past. Typically, we'd be giving them out this week. So know that that is something the College Board let us know very recently. And typically, students could always get information on practicing through the PSAT. Most of that information now is going to be enclosed within the Khan Academy help with the SAT. We're going to be posting the questions and answers. That was another question, as we get them. So we'll be doing that probably tomorrow and Wednesday. And the presentation will be on YouTube, and it will be posted on our website, both the 10 a.m. and the 2 p.m. All right, it looks like we're good. So we are going to end the broadcast now. We thank you all for tuning in, and we hopefully will be doing this more frequently to get information out about topics that are important to our parents and students. Thanks again.